Ladies and gentlemen, we're going right.
Yeah.
We're live. Live in effect, straight and direct. Welcome back to the Ball Oasis show, everybody. Uh, Last week we did the Western Conference standings. Western Conference standings were really fun. A lot of unforeseen placements from me and Jacob both. It was really fun to do. Hoping we can recreate some of that here today with the Eastern Conference standings. Obviously, we know with the Eastern Conference, it's a pretty top-heavy conference going into the season, of course, with the powerhouses. With Milwaukee and Boston, I don't expect either of us to have them below like 3 if we even go that low with them.
Right.
But outside of that, you've got kind of the second-tier teams like Miami and Philly and New York, I guess, who could be up there as well. And then after that, it's just kind of a giant cluster. The giant cluster that's completely up to be determined this season, depending on which way some teams go. Injuries, the usual storylines could push the Eastern Conference anyway. So outside of the top 5 or so, I think that things could go any possible way in the Eastern Conference this year. What would you say, Jacob?
Yeah, I'd say the top 5, maybe 6, but it can go anyway.
Yeah. Not much to really get into outside of these standings. Preseason play has started. You've seen some preseason games. Jacob, I didn't watch the Celtics-Sixers preseason game yesterday. Was there any kind of standout things that happened? I saw some Porzingis highlights.
Yeah, he had a few highlights. Tyrese Maxey was shooting good normally, like he does, step back threes and everything.
I saw some Chris Paul highlights in the Warriors game. He actually looked pretty good in that system.
I had the game on and I saw the jersey and I had to change it back because it just felt weird.
Yeah.
Besides that, I think Chet and Victor's playing right now. I haven't caught any of that game yet.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll actually play more than like 10, 15 minutes. Probably not, but preseason started up, so that's fun. Some basketball to watch throughout the week. My team plays their first game tomorrow. I will be tuned in for that, best believe, even if it is a preseason game.
Yeah, but, I guess it just depends on your coaches because Boston and Philly played basically the whole first 3 quarters of the starters in.
You know who did play? Kawhi and PG played last night. So,
they did.
Yeah, maybe it's the start. Maybe Ty Lue is keeping his word after all. But anyways,
to me at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I agree. Outside of that, though, I'd say we just jump right into these Eastern Conference standings. What do you say, Jacob?
Yeah, let's
do it. Let's run it.
I would say before we start with the East, the wins are going to be, when we get to the wins, they'll be kind of weird.
You think so?
It was hard to gauge. I mean, like you said, it's top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to give too many wins, and I didn't want to short a lot of wins. So it was like wins would be probably way off.
Yeah. It's always hard to project the wins for the top teams because you don't know like if they're going to rest guys. Or, you'll usually have a star player out for a couple weeks or a month. So sometimes they balance back out, and a team that, if it were healthy, would project to have more wins, but it gets knocked down because of things like that happen. That's usually how it balances out in some form or fashion. So
yeah,
it's just one of those things that happens with every team in some capacity.
Yeah, and same as last week. I only had one right from last year.
Last year, let me check real quick because I had the top 3 right. I had the top 3 in the Eastern Conference.
I had the top 3 just in a different order.
Let's see.
I had Cleveland at 4, and that was the only one I was right about.
Yeah, I had Milwaukee at 1, Boston at 2, Philly at 3. I was right about all of those.
Yep.
Atlanta was 7, right?
I don't. Yeah.
Atlanta was 7. Ooh, I got a lot right in the East. Hold on. I got Brooklyn at 6 right. I got Atlanta at 7 right. The Bulls got higher than 10 technically.
Well, I had the Brooklyn right then because I had them at 6. I had Cleveland and Brooklyn, so I had 2 right then.
Yeah. Brooklyn was the 6th seed, went up against the Sixers as the 3 seed. So I got 5 right that I know. I don't have the standings pulled up beside me, so the lower tier teams, I don't know for sure if I got them right, but
Yeah, I had two. Right.
Eastern Conference is a lot better than the Western Conference. I'll say
Yeah, I guess it's easier to judge than the loaded West.
for sure. Let's start with the 15s though. The bottom seed in the Eastern Conference. Jacob, who do you have?
All right, let me pull my. All right.
I think we should have the same team right at the bottom.
I thought about putting them higher. If we do have the same, I got the Washington Wizards.
The Wizards are my 15 as well.
I thought about putting them a little bit higher, but I couldn't do it. They blew it up. But the no trade clause for Bradley Beal kind of messed them up. Not really, but it did, in my opinion. They could have got a lot more. They're not going to try to win games. They're just, I guess, get young guys in, see how they are. Might flip a few guys, but they brought in,
Yeah, I was gonna say not much to say about the Wizards this year. Outside of the added
Jordan Poole, Tyus Jones, but lost a lot of the big name guys. But there should be a team there.
Yeah, the starting lineup I have for the Wizards is Tyus Jones, Jordan Poole, Denny Avdia, Kyle Kuzma, and Daniel Gafford. Yeah. Not much to say about the Wizards. They drafted Bilal Coulibaly with the 7th pick, which seemed like kind of a reach. He was projected to go outside of the lottery, so that's an interesting caveat to the Wizards this year.
I think they just wanted a project because they're not going to compete anytime soon that we know of. So I guess they just wanted that project to work on.
Right. Projected win total for them is 23.5. What did you have over or under for that?
23.5.
23.5.
I went under.
I went under as well.
I think I said 20 to 23.
Yeah, I think the Wizards will have the worst record in the NBA.
Unless Jordan Poole just explodes against Golden State 2 games, and we'll see.
In my PC season, 28, 29 points a game, Jordan Poole. He's going to put up numbers this year is the thing. He's going to put up numbers, but the efficiency is, of course, what you look at with Jordan Poole if it really equates to anything substantial. 14. Right. Who you got at 14?
This is – I don't have notes for this team. Yeah, I do. This is where I have the Detroit Pistons.
I have the Pistons at 14 also.
Biggest thing with them – I know they brought in Monty Williams as their new coach.
I like Ausar Thompson. I will say I like Ausar Thompson.
Yeah, I like that pick. Traded for Joe Harris, which I guess that helps with their shooting.
Won't play much.
I guess their projected lineup is Cade, Jaden Ivey, Bogdanovich, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren.
I have Ausar Thompson starting. I have Isaiah Stewart as the backup big for them.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
But I think Bojan plays the 4. And Ausar plays the 3.
Okay. There's not a bad team, but it's going to depend on if Cade stays healthy this year. Because we saw last year they had the worst record, right?
They did, yes. They had the number 1 odds in the draft.
They had the worst record without Cade. I think he only played 12 games.
Yeah, he got hurt early.
There'll be a fun team to watch. I know they had the competition for Jalen Duren and James Wiseman starting spot, but I'm pretty sure Duren will have it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I had a whole lot to say.
Yeah, I think Monty Williams is definitely a great guy to bring a culture to Detroit. And he's got a lot of guys that he can mold in that culture, a lot of young guards and wings especially. I mean, even with the bigs, like guys who've kind of been other places and have felt like a change of scenery is what they've needed. Guys like James Wiseman and Marvin Bagley are guys who can come here and hopefully buy into Monty Williams' culture. And we know that he can build a program up from scratch almost. He built that Phoenix team up from a bottom feeder in the Western Conference to an NBA Finals team. So with the right player additions, I think Detroit is on track to have a good rebuild. But with that being said, I still think that they'll be a pretty bad team this year.
Yeah, they have a lot of bigs. So I wouldn't be surprised if one got moved sometime during the year. But
yeah, I think they're taking a flyer on all of them and just seeing who kind of fits the best for their team.
Yeah.
Yeah. 27.5 is the projected win total for the Pistons. I went under. I went a few games under.
I went under.
I think they'll win about 25 games.
Yeah, 20. I think I said 24 to 26.
Sounds about right. I think so. Yeah, if K can stay healthy, they'll be a fun team to watch. So
Yeah.
at least they've got that going for them over there in Detroit. 13 though, number 13. Who do you have here? I'm interested to see who you have here.
This is where I have the Charlotte Hornets.
Okay, I have the Hornets too. I was wondering if you'd go with a different team.
We'll see. We'll see coming up. Well, with Charlotte, again, not a whole lot to say. They lost Dennis Smith Jr., who was really great for them defensively last year. Lost Kelly Oubre. Drafted Brendan Miller with the second pick. You could say it's questionable. I guess it depends on who you ask.
Yeah, if you ask me, and I'm a guy who's really high on Brandon Miller out of college at Alabama. There was a time in last season's college basketball season before I knew a whole lot about Victor, where I realistically said I think Brandon Miller could be the number 1 overall pick. With that being said, though, I guess for fit, it's good for the Hornets, but obviously, you have Scoot Henderson being drafted at 3, and with my team having Scoot Henderson now, I'm very glad to have Scoot Henderson. Not to say Brandon Miller is bad anyway. I think he'll have a good rookie season.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out.
Yes, fit-wise, it was a good pick, but a lot of times you draft for upside,
Especially in the top 5.
Yeah, potential. So I know Miles Bridges comes back from his suspension or whatever you want to call it. Not much to say. I sent it to you. Kai Jones publicly requested a trade today. Don't know what's going on.
The whole situation is very, very strange. It's a very strange situation.
I think we both said he would have got minutes.
Yeah, he would have been the backup center on that team.
Somebody more than likely will trade for him. Man, I don't even know because
I'll say this: the Portland Trailblazers are in need of a backup big if they decide to play Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton at the same time. So,
yeah, that is true.
Kai Jones, like to come to Portland, and if you promise to, I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah, we won't go there. I know LaMelo was hurt last year, so it's really going to all depend on him. Might be the year Terry Rozier or Gordon Hayward gets traded. Been in rumors for a while.
You would think.
I believe they're expiring contracts. I think Gordon Hayward is.
Yeah.
Their lineup. Did you have Brandon Miller starting for them?
I do. I have LaMelo Ball. I have Terry Rozier. I have Brandon Miller. I have Miles Bridges, and I have Mark Williams starting with 5.
Okay. Yeah, I had Gordon coming off the bench. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, like I said, there could be some trades with this team, especially with the vets. But it's going to depend on if LaMelo stays healthy or not. That's really all it comes to.
Yeah, this starting lineup wise, that should be a fun team to watch if you think about it. Because LaMelo and Terry Rozier are both 20+ point per game scorers. LaMelo Ball is a great playmaker. Miles Bridges, we know he could be a 20 point per game scorer too. He was in conversations a few years ago for a max contract. He was supposed to make over $30 million a season. So with him being away from basketball for a year, it'll be interesting to see how he kind of reintegrates himself back into that team, especially with Steve Clifford being the coach now. But Brandon Miller is a guy who I think could realistically come in and average 15, 16 points a game and play pretty solid perimeter defense. So they're a team that I'm not going to say that I won't watch at all, because I think that they'll give some really good highlights throughout the season. Their projected win total is 30.5. I have them winning more than that. I have them winning about 33 games. I think they win more.
I had them 31.
Yeah, I think they win more than their projected total.
Was it last? It wasn't last year. Was it last year or 2 years ago when they were competing for a play-in spot?
They made the play-in. They were the 10 seed.
They were the 10 seed?
Mm-hmm. They lost.
I think the last 2 years.
They lost in Toronto or Atlanta. I think they put Atlanta.
Atlanta. I think it was Atlanta.
Yeah. That was the year their defense was just like atrocious, but they had like a top 10 offense. and that's because LaMelo Ball was
Right.
spearheading everything.
That is All-Star year?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right.
Yep. So Charlotte should be fun, but like the Pistons, they'll be pretty bad as well. 12, though. 12 is where things get interesting. Who's your 12?
It's banking on a lot of stuff. This is where I have the Toronto Raptors.
Okay. I don't have Toronto here. So go ahead and tell me about Toronto.
We know it's been the OG and Pascal Siakam rumors. Brought a new coach in. They were on the Dame sweepstakes. I don't know how much you want to put into it, but they were reportedly in on it. I think they blow it up.
You think it's finally time?
I think there's two teams.
Will finally cut his losses.
There's two teams in the league that have to blow it up. They're both in the East. But I think Toronto has, I don't know, because Masai is stubborn. But I think if they don't know Pascal or OG will resign, I think they'll trade him by the deadline.
You would think.
Especially, I know they wanted a lot. Like, I'm not sure. I believe it was Memphis that offered 3 first-round picks for OG.
Well, apparently they wouldn't trade OG for Dame. That's like that's what stopped them.
So, but if they're below 500, they lost Fred VanVleet, which is big for them. He was their shooter last year. Basically, well, I'm gonna say they're only one. They drafted Grady Dick, brought in,
He should be cool. I think he'll be cool.
Yeah, brought in Dennis Schroeder. I guess replaced Fred, but roster-wise, they're the same as previous years. You know, athletic guys brought in Jalen McDaniels. But yeah, I don't. If they're below 500, like say they're 9-10 seed, which is still playing range, but if they're that by the deadline, I think they'll blow it up.
I don't know, man. They've come this far.
I mean, I know we said it all last year. They should do it.
I mean, obviously, if I was in that position, I would. But
yeah,
we're talking about Masai. We're talking about Masai Ujiri.
Realistically, we talked about it. They could have had Scoot Henderson, maybe.
Yeah.
So they could have started the rebuild the perfect way, like Portland is, but they, stubborn, just want to hold on to it. I guess I got their lineup is Dennis Schroeder, OG, Scotty Barnes, Pascal, and Jakob Poeltl.
Okay, I have Gary Trent starting, and I have Pascal starting at 5. That's the only difference I have with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I sometimes forget Gary Trent is on the team, so.
He opted in, and they were supposed to work on a extension, but it never happened. So he could get moved. I've heard some rumors he could get moved. Their bench is what it normally is. They have Grady Dick on their bench. Chris Boucher, Precious, the long athletic guys they love, but I don't think it's crazy to say they blow it up, but we know how they are, and it's not a very, very high chance of it.
Yeah. Well, you said something interesting that I want to go back to. You said that there were 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that should blow up, and you had one of them at your 12 spot, and I've got the other one at my 12 spot. I've got the Chicago Bulls here.
I'm giving them one last chance.
I think they're more likely to do it before the Raptors do it. Honestly, I think they are.
They're a little bit higher up on my list, but I'm giving them one last chance. I think Zach or DeMar was like, "This is probably our last run." I'm giving them one last chance.
Yeah, I think basically everything you said about Toronto, if they start out and they're not in realistic playoff contention, like top 8 seed, I think they'd be quicker to pull the trigger than the Toronto Raptors because they've got fairly new management. They've got a fairly new GM who brought that core together, but ultimately was brought in to really rebuild that Chicago team. And so I think Carney, I don't remember his first name, Carney Shovis is his last name. I think that he would pull the trigger before Masai would. So that's my rationale, having the Chicago Bulls at 12. This offseason, they added Javon Carter and Torrey Craig, who are 2 rotational players. They'll crack the rotation. But they don't really help with what this team needs. This team does not shoot the 3. They just don't. They don't shoot the 3 well, and they do not shoot it, like volume-wise. They just don't shoot.
Yep.
And it's something that I watched a little bit of their media day. They said that they're going to attempt more, and they're going to get DeMar DeRozan to attempt more threes, who has never attempted more than like 2 threes in a season. So they're realistically saying that DeMar DeRozan is going to come out here and average like 4.5 3-point attempts a game. Do I believe that personally? No.
Maybe in the corner.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
I was the year before last. I remember he was hitting game-winning threes, but it wasn't much of it last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I put any type of consistency to that.
No.
But obviously they have Patrick Williams too. Patrick Williams was the 4th overall pick in the 2020 draft, I believe. And he's a guy that hasn't really burst onto the scene for them yet. He's a good defender. He's a good, solid defender. He constantly takes on the toughest matchups. But offensively, they really need him to come along if they're going to do anything, because they won't have Lonzo Ball. Of course, you're going to get good offensive production from LaVine, DeRozan, and Vucevic. But outside of that, you don't know where it's going to come from. So,
yeah,
my projected starting lineup for them: Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, DeMar DeRozan, and Vucevic. Like I said, they add Javon Carter and Torrey Craig to come off the bench. Their projected win total is 37.5. Obviously, I have them at 12, so I have them under. I think that they win probably 34, 35 games.
Okay.
And I think that I don't think that they trade all their guys during the season, but I think at least one of those core guys gets moved by the deadline.
I'll get to them more when I get to them, but they've said that they want to keep more long term, which I don't know if they want to keep LaVine long term because he's been in rumors. I know he's in the rumor.
All of them, bro.
I mean, I know LaVine's in the rumor for Philly, like in a 3-team deal, which I doubt that happens, but
obviously LaVine has the most trade value at this point in his career.
Yeah. So if you're right, if it's, I don't know about Christmas time, but if it's around that time and they're in the lower play-in, then yeah, they'd be one of the teams to blow it up. Like I said, there's 2 teams that should blow it up that we're waiting on, but
Toronto and Chicago.
Yeah.
You want me to give your 11 first, or you want me to give my 11 first, or do you want to go first here?
I can go first.
Okay.
This is why I have the Orlando Magic.
Okay, I have the Magic here too. I wondered.
All right. I won't be surprised if they make the play-in. Won't be surprised if they miss it. I think the only player they lost was Bobo and Mo Bamba. Well, they lost Mo Bamba during the year last year. Brought in Joe Ingles. They helped with shooting. Drafted Anthony Black, Jett Howard. Not a whole lot to say. I guess it depends on how Paolo and Franz kind of develop. We could see a Markelle Fultz MIP year.
I would be down for that. I would love to see it.
I'm saying it now. I like Markelle. Could see it. I think, do you have Gary Harris in the start lineup or Anthony Black?
I have neither. I have Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony in the starting lineup.
Okay, so I think they'll trade Cole eventually. They're going to trade one of these guards eventually, I think.
They have to at some point. First to go is RJ Hampton. We'll see who's next.
Yeah, new two-way, I think, on Miami. Wendell at the 5, which is a great contract. I don't know the details, but I know it is one of the best value contracts. We'll see if Jonathan Isaac does anything this year. I know he had some run last year. Not banking on it. Not banking on it anymore.
I wouldn't count on it. I'm sorry. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not probably won't even talk about him at all this year. My projected lineup: Boys, Markelle. I had Gary Harris, but Cole Anthony, either one was fit. Then Franz, Paolo, and Wendell Carter.
Yeah, I just have Cole Anthony. So for Gary Harris.
Yes, I'll let you talk about him before I do the over/under.
Yeah, the Magic. I wanted to go higher. I
go higher. I really wanted to.
I really wanted to put them in at least like the top 9 because I really like their team and I really like their rebuild. The one thing that kind of rubs me kind of the wrong way, and I don't even know if it's the wrong way, I just didn't really like their draft. And they got Anthony Black, they got Jett Howard. Those are guys that I don't think can come in and have an. I know they won't have an immediate impact. I
Yeah.
don't think they'll have an immediate impact. So I don't think that they'll influence winning to a high level, especially in their first year. I think Anthony Black is such a raw prospect. I don't know about him. He was the player in the draft that obviously he went high. He went with like the 6th pick.
Right.
And really, I think I had him in my mock going as low as like 12 or 13. He's got the size. He's got great size. He's got the great defensive potential. Obviously lacks perimeter shooting. He won't shoot from the perimeter very well. And just with the log jam on the Magic with guys that are like 6'5" to 6'9", especially adding Jet Howard too, who I'm not particularly high on either. I don't know because I love Paolo. I think Paolo's going to have a great year.
Yeah.
I think Franz could have an all-star level season this year. Like you said, I want Markelle to be really good, and I think that he'll have a solid season. I think he'll be the starting point guard on that team.
Yeah.
They've got good depth if those draft guys can convey, but I just don't know if they will. I'm not going to bank on them conveying, especially this early in their careers. So with that being said, I couldn't go higher than 11 with the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, I wish they would have took Grady Dick. I think they at the 11th pick instead of Jet, but I mean Jet can shoot, so it does help them some. They brought in Joe Ingles to shoot, but yeah, it really just depends on what happens with those guards.
Yeah. We also don't know how good Paolo is yet, is the thing. Paolo could be great. Paolo could be, like, by the end of the year, he could be a top 25 player in the NBA.
Yeah, he was in the All-Star conversation last year, but, the forwards in the East wasn't too heavy.
Right.
So, yeah, it really just depends on how Paolo and Franz play. Because they both could have
now, if Paolo isn't an all-star, then, like, I would be shocked. I would just be shocked.
I'm about to say, like we've said, the West is stacked, the East isn't as stacked, even player-wise. Well, forward-wise, it could maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. Projected win total is 37.5 for them. Where'd you go? Did you go over or under?
I had under. I had 36.
You had 36? I went over. I think they'll win 39 games.
I like them to get 40, but I don't know.
I think the Magic will win 39 games, which is an improvement, which will be an improvement.
Yeah.
So they're on the right track. I just don't think this is the year that they burst onto the scene. Not yet.
It'd be like another year or two.
Yeah. Let me get my number 10 first because you already talked about them a good little bit. This is where I have Toronto. I have Toronto at my number 10 spot. Like you said, they're in the same boat with Chicago where they should really consider blowing it up. And they probably should have made trades already. They've had good offers from what we've heard. They've had reportedly some very good offers for guys like OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. Obviously, they say Scotty Barnes is untouchable, which I understand. I can understand that. But the other guys, keeping the other guys just doesn't make sense if you're trying to go into a rebuild, unless you value OG or Pascal as a part of the core. But I'm just thinking the return you could get for those guys could be so good. Like you said, they could have either had Scoot Henderson or like great top 3 picks for next year after. And until they blow it up, they're just going to continue to be in no man's land. They are like the definition of the no man's land team right now, along with Chicago Bulls. Projected win total is 36.5. I think that as long as they keep their core and they hold out, they'll win more than 36.5. I think that they'll win probably about 40, 41 games and be the most mid team of all time. They'll be the most mid team as long as they keep this core.
Oh, yeah, I will say it. Even if they play at their best, they're still playing. So,
yeah.
Unless something catastrophic happens to multiple teams, but.
Yeah. I think their 5 seed that they got like 2 years ago and went up against the Sixers in the first round, I think that was the ceiling with that team that they could have rolled out. And that was with Fred. And I think Norman was already gone at that point.
Yeah, that was before Brunson in New York, before
DeJounte on the Hawks.
Yeah.
before.
It's like every team around them has done something to try to take that leap except them.
Yeah.
But
they're my 10.
My number 10, I don't know why I have this team right here. I hate having them at 10. I want to move them to 9.
Who is it?
My number 10, I have the Brooklyn Nets.
I knew it. I knew you would. I knew you would.
It's okay. We saw last year they were after the KD and Kyrie trades, they were bad. They made the playoffs, but that was from the success before the trades. I like Mikal. I guess their biggest question has been how will Ben Simmons play?
Right.
We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, which I've been getting notifications about him taking LeBron to the rack.
He's back.
I've been getting
back.
notifications the last 20 minutes, and I don't want to see him. As a basketball fan, I really hope he gets back to where he was, but I'll just have to see it before I believe it.
How would that make you feel as a Philly fan? Let me ask you that. How would it make you feel as a Philly fan if Ben Simmons got back to all-star form?
As a Philly fan, I really don't care what he does as a Philly fan. I guess that whole situation, I'd be surprised if he did, but if he does, I mean, it wouldn't have changed anything. I don't think. I think we did the right thing trading for Harden.
Okay. Yeah, don't come crawling back to Ben now.
No. It'd be. I think we did the right trade. I think we should have traded them either way. I don't think the fit with him and Joel was perfect. So.
I mean, y'all are the 1 seed. I'll say that.
Yeah. Loved his defense, but wouldn't shoot. They lost Joe Harris, Seth Curry, Buda, Edmund Sumner. They brought in Dennis Smith Jr., Lonnie Walker, drafted Noah Clowney and Derrick Whitehead.
Good picks by Brooklyn.
Yeah, the back-to-back picks. We talked about it. I didn't know about their starting lineup. I didn't know.
I've got them starting Ben. I do.
I didn't know if they would start Ben.
I think they need his playmaking. I have Ben, Spencer, Mikal, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Claxton.
So you're bringing Cam off the bench.
I'm bringing Cam off the bench.
Okay. Yeah. I can roll with that lineup.
Because I think their bench will need a scoring punch. I think they will.
They got Cam Thomas.
They do have Cam Thomas, but Cam Thomas is the most inconsistent player of all time.
Yeah, I don't know. He had 3 games in a row last year?
Yeah, and then he had 3 points for like 2 weeks straight.
Royce O'Neal on their bench. Cam Thomas.
I forgot all about, bro.
They probably will trade one of Royce or Dorian. Nick Claxton he was great in playoffs against Joel. He played really good defense. I don't want to say he'll be in DPOY conversation, but he was for a little bit last year. I guess it'd be on his development and see, but they just have one go-to guy. That's really all I can say, Mikal. They just have that one guy that you'll give him the ball, he can score. Unless Ben is close to what he was before all the injuries and everything. If he can play, make, drive, score.
That's a tough bet at this point. That's a really tough bet.
We'll see if he'll actually try to get fouled and go to the free throw line. I know he's been working on free throws, which isn't a good bet either. I just didn't know about Brooklyn. I didn't know it because I wouldn't be surprised if they were around the 10 seed, or I wouldn't be surprised if I don't think they'd be higher than 7.
Well, I've talked about them as much as I have already because I have them at 9. They're my 9 team.
Okay.
I wanted to go higher with them too. I wanted to go higher with Brooklyn too, but I do think that they'll have a lot of offensive incompetencies. I think Spencer Dinwiddie can average 22, 23 points. I do think he can do that.
I will say before you keep going, we know Mikal's going to be the main offense. I'm not going to say that it was a shock last year because he was doing it before he got traded from Phoenix. But now teams know, and he's going to be the guy they're, planning against.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see if he can still average. I think he was averaging 27 in Brooklyn?
Yeah, it was like 26, 27 points a game.
We'll see if he can still do that. Which, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. He was really good, but I don't know if you can count on that count on him for your whole offense.
I think what will hold Brooklyn over is I think they'll be a top 5 defensive team.
Defensive, yeah.
I think they'll be a top 5 defensive team with Claxton, with Mikal, with Ben Simmons, with Dorian Finney-Smith, with the guys that they drafted. I mean, obviously they drafted two. They drafted a wing in Dariq Whitehead and a big in Noah Clowney. But I think those guys both have good defensive potential. They have Royce O'Neal off the bench. They've got good defenders on that team. They do. I think they'll have a top 5 defense, but offensively, I think they might have a bottom 5 offense is the only thing.
Yeah, like I said, if Ben's close to what he was a few years ago, they even without I'm not gonna say without him, but they should have a top defense.
Yeah, win total for Brooklyn is 37.5. I have them at 42 wins. I think they'll go 42-40.
So you had your Tennessee getting a lot of wins. I didn't know what to do with wins. I was low on a lot of teams. I didn't know.
I had Toronto at 40-41 as my 10 seed.
I didn't know how to do the wins because, like we said, it's top heavy. And even I got the Bulls at my number 9 seed. You talked about it a little bit. I had them at like 39 to 31 wins. I mean, no, 39 to 41 wins. I didn't know how to gauge a lot of teams because they were around that last year, and I don't know if they just got better.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were my number 9. I think Brooklyn. What'd you say you had them at 40 wins?
I had Brooklyn at 42 wins. I have them at 42-40.
I can see 40 to 42.
For the Bulls?
No, for the Nets. Bulls too.
Okay.
I don't know. I know you had the Bulls a little bit further down. Not much, but I don't know. Like I said, the wins, it's hard to do wins. But I had Chicago at number 9. You covered a lot of it. Another directionless team so far. Kind of hoping they do blow it up just to see. Because if Lonzo was there, it'd be a lot different, I think. They were good when Lonzo played, but they don't have any spacing.
Right.
I will say defense was good second half of the year. I'll get to that guy later. Pat Bev.
Oh, right.
They were good.
He played for them. What in the world?
They were like a top 4 defense when he got traded there. I don't know, but yeah, I hope this is the last year we get this core together. Even though they signed Vooch to a 3-year extension.
Yeah.
I hope this is the last year that the fans got to put up with that.
The way I talked about the Atlanta Hawks last year, where I said like I just don't like watching them play basketball. I think that's the way I'm going to talk about like the Chicago Bulls this year. I just don't like watching them play basketball.
If DeMar doesn't attempt 4 threes a game, yeah, I'll be there with you.
Yeah. Top 8 though. These are the playoff teams here in the top 8. Go first, Jacob. I want you to go first right here with your number 8.
This team's gonna be fun.
Oh no.
This team's gonna be fun. I wanted to put them higher. This is why I have the Indiana Pacers.
That hurts.
I know this was a team. We talked. This was the team that I was thinking. If this even is a team, but we obviously know where's Tyrese was a All-Star last year.
Tyrese is that boy.
He was an All-Star last year, I believe. I don't know if he qualified, but I think if he did qualify, he would have led the league in assists.
Yeah, he was right there with Harden.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't know if he qualified or not. They really didn't lose anybody. They lost Chris Duarte and Brissett, brought in Bruce Brown, Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker, or drafted Jarris Walker.
Great offseason.
Yeah, I love the Obi and Bruce Brown pickups.
Jarris Walker's a great pick at 7 too.
Yeah, I think they traded with Washington. No, yeah, they did trade. Yeah,
they traded 7 for 8 basically.
They were a top 5 or 6 seed last year before Tyrese got hurt.
Yep, they were 23-18 halfway through the season.
Yeah, so they were great when he played, but when he went down, it was just losing streak after losing streak. I have the lineup as Tyrese, I'll say either Buddy or Benedict Mathurin.
I have Buddy.
Buddy.
Until he gets traded.
Traded? Okay. Then I got Bruce Brown, Obi Toppin, and Miles Turner.
That's what I have.
Obi Toppin kind of gives Tyrese that transition partner, and Bruce Brown gives him that transition partner that he can get the ball out to. And they probably will be one of, if not the fastest paced team this year.
Yeah, maybe.
I really like the Obi Toppin pickup, which he didn't play a whole lot in New York, but he can shoot some. Great lob threat for Tyrese. We know what Miles Turner can do defensively and spreading the floor. I'm not gonna say it was an overpay for Bruce Brown.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is, but they brought him in to be that, he can do everything.
Obviously, people can say Jokic made him better, but he was good on Brooklyn. He was the third best player in the playoffs for a Brooklyn team that had Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he was good in Brooklyn. He was that guy that could give you a scoring punch and lock somebody up. They got Andrew Nembhard, who was good last year. Was he a rookie last year?
He was, yes. Yeah.
I know he had a game against Golden State where he was really good.
He had over 30 that game, yeah.
Aaron Naismith, Daniel Tice, TJ McConnell, who's, a lot of these guys been in trade rumors, but if Tyrese stays healthy, I think you had him higher. I wouldn't be surprised if they did get into that top 6.
But you have them in 8.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised. Now, there's another team I don't know, you might have them right here. There's another team that we don't know what's going on with them either.
Okay.
Their over-under was 38.5. I had them going over. I had them around 42 to 44 wins.
That's respectable. I respect it. Yeah, man, I'm really excited to watch the Pacers play. I'll talk more about them when I get to them, though.
Yeah.
At my number 8, I didn't know who to put here. I didn't know who to put here because I knew I didn't want to put the Pacers here. I knew I wasn't going to put the Knicks here. So that just left a few teams to choose from. I'm higher on the Hawks than I was last year. So I couldn't go with the Hawks either.
Really?
At number 8, I have the Miami Heat at my number 8 seed. This is where I have the Miami Heat. Obviously, they were the 8 seed last year. So they would just be repeating what they did the year before, basically. I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible they have
such a team.
A similar offense, a similar regular season to what they had last year. I think it's very possible. They lose Gabe Vincent. They lose Max Strus, 2 guys who were starters by the end of the season. They're starting Kyle Lowry now, apparently. I've got Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, Jimmy, and Bam. They pick up Thomas Bryant and Josh Richardson in the offseason, 2 guys who can be rotational players. Of course, they draft Jaime Jaquez, who I think is a good draft pick. Nikola Jovic has looked like he could be a contributor to the team. I just think in the regular season, they'll be around where they were last year. I think they will.
So you got Kevin Love off the bench?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
You don't think they'd want Caleb off the bench for that scoring? Well,
you said Caleb off the bench for scoring?
Yeah.
I don't think Caleb Martin is averaging over 12 points a game this season.
Well, I know he was good in the playoffs, but just, I guess, to help the bench unit, but they will stagger a lot. I know.
I think Josh Richardson will score more than Caleb Martin this year, honestly. I think he will.
He could.
The Heat, obviously, come playoff time, are going to be way better than 8. It's like the Clippers. We had the Clippers at 8 in the Western Conference. The Heat are the same way.
The Heat
are the same way in the East. Yeah, except this is a team that we know can actually make the finals.
Yeah.
I had no shame putting the Heat here. They were immediately the team that kind of came to my head when I knew that I wasn't going to put the Pacers here. I just don't think that they'll be that outstanding. They had a disappointing off season, and I don't think that they got better. I think that they got worse in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't.
Projected win total is 45.5, so I'm going with the under at the 8 seed. I think the Heat go 42-40, like the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, my win total is gonna be weird because I don't know. I'll get to them.
Let me talk about. Have you talked about your 8? You didn't.
Yeah.
You said it. Let me talk about my 7 because this is where I have Indiana. I do have Indiana at 7.
Okay.
It's gonna be so fun to watch Indiana play. As like you said, as long as their cores on the floor healthy together. I don't know where Jarris Walker really fits in, but
Yeah.
I think that he'll be good. I think that he'll be really good. I'm so excited to watch Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is the X factor to this team because in New York he ran under Tom Thibodeau, who runs a top 3 bottom pace. Like they run so slow. Obi Toppin is a transition monster. He is a monster in transition. The Pacers will be fast. I think it's a perfect situation for him to come in and thrive. I'm really looking at him as a potential MIP candidate. I am.
I am too. That's why I really like they traded for him.
Yeah, Bruce Brown, like I said, will come in and he'll be himself. He'll be what the Pacers need him to be. Obviously, they've got Buddy Hield, who has been rumored to be moved. I think he'll be moved before the deadline. We don't know what for at this point.
We've been saying that
Pacers,
for a few years, so.
Yeah, that is true. But the Pacers will be fun. The Pacers will be really fun. Like we said, they were 23-18 halfway through the season last year before Tyrese got hurt. Tyrese will be an all-star again, barring injury. He'll be towards the top of the league in assists. He's a 40-plus three-point shooter. The Pacers are going to be good. The Pacers will be a good team. They've got Rick Carlisle as their coach. They've got a proven coach, proven coaching staff. I'm just excited to watch them. They're going to be, especially early in the season, they're going to be among my top watches. 38.5 win total. Pacers are winning 44 games.
Okay.
44 and 38 for the Pacers.
Yeah, like I said, they're gonna be a really fun team to watch if healthy.
I think so.
So my number 7. Have I brought the whiteboard up yet?
You have not brought out the whiteboard. I was wondering when you were going to do that.
Oh, I'm not yet, but I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to write down about it.
No, not yet. I'll let you know if I do. I might not this episode.
So what we're doing is I have a whiteboard that if we totally disagree on something or we think certain players or something might do more than the other players, we'll write it down and keep track of it so we don't forget and hold each other accountable for it. Well, fun thing to do.
Yeah, you don't object to my Heat at 8. You don't object to that in a big way.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah, write it down. I've got the Miami Heat at 8 with no shame. I have no shame with having the Heat at 8. Not at all. Not one bit.
I'll get to them.
Write it down. Write that one down. Obviously, this will be a thing that carries into the regular season too, because I'm sure that we'll have agendas.
I either have to buy another one or start adding on paper eventually.
Yeah, we might have to have a whole separate thing for that, all the in-season stuff. Yeah. I have no objections with yours so far. I don't. We'll see if that continues though. You've played it pretty conservative up to this point, I will say.
The one I got, I've talked to you before about, which I know you didn't watch some games, but we'll see. So my number 7. This is where I have the Atlanta Hawks. The middest team of all time last year. I don't think they were like 2 games above 500 at all, or below. I know we said that going into last year, the Trey and DeJounte fit would be the biggest question for us, which I guess it's still there. But they do have a full season of Quinn Snyder this year, so I think they can make it work. They traded John Collins finally, which felt like he's been there 10 years. It's been a 10-year process. Lost Aaron Holiday, brought in Kobe Buffkin, Patty Mills. Well, Patty Mills might have got traded. I don't remember.
They brought him in this offseason, yeah.
But he got traded like 3 times in like 2 days.
True.
So he might be there, he might not be. Their starting lineup, I got Trae Young, DeJounte.
I have AJ Griffin. DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella.
I had Sadiq Bey.
That makes sense too. Either or AJ or Sadiq.
I would say DeAndre Hunter has been in trade talks. I had either AJ or Sadiq. Bojan off the bench, who's great scorer.
Bogdan, you mean?
Bogdan, yeah, Bogdan. I really hope this is the year they trade Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu actually gets the full-time role. He's great when he plays. I know Clint's been in rumors for a while now too. They're not that deep of a roster,
Right.
but we know what Trae Young can do. Been to the ECF before, sadly. It's gonna ride on their starters a lot. I know that Trae and DeJounte will split. One of them will more than likely be on the floor at all times. We'll see if it was like a chemistry thing with John Collins. I know he said some stuff when he got to Utah about Atlanta, not directly, but hinted at it. I don't know. I just don't know with them. Haven't in the play-in at 7. They could be higher. I know you got them higher, or you might have them around this spot. No,
Yeah, I had Indiana at 7, so they're higher than 7 for me.
I just don't know. I think Quinn will really help them. They gave Boston fits in the first round of the playoffs, which we both either said a sweeper and won. They won 2 games, but I just don't know about the fit. We'll have to see. But that's the biggest thing. They're over under 41.5. I had them with Indiana. I had them like right at 42, 43.
Okay.
I guess mid.
Yeah, y'all know if y'all been watching this channel, y'all know how critical I was of the Atlanta Hawks last year. I downright despise the Atlanta Hawks. I didn't watch more than like 20 minutes of a Hawks playoff game last year. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't watch them after a certain point because they would literally win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game. For like 3 months straight.
It was just the play style. It's just I don't know.
Their defense was bad. Obviously, they brought Quinn Snyder in mid-season, and he should help with that. I'll talk more about them when I get to them, though. They aren't my 6. I don't have the Atlanta Hawks at 6.
Really?
I don't have the Atlanta Hawks at 6. I don't. At 6, I have the New York Knicks. This is where I have the Knicks. I've got the Knicks at number 6. Not a very what's the word I'm looking for? Not an exciting offseason for the Knicks. They just bring in Dante DiVincenzo, but he's a guy, obviously, college teammates with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and Ryan Arcidiacono, who they also picked up. But obviously, the Knicks are a solid team. The Knicks had a very good first-round playoff series last year against Cleveland before ultimately losing to Miami in second round. The Knicks are a good team. They're a good team. They're going to be a good team. And I think it was on the offensive end where they really surprised me last season. I expected them to be like a defensive-minded juggernaut team, like a Tom Thibodeau typical team. But they were really good on offense. And a lot of that was because of Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle having really good offensive seasons. Obviously, RJ Barrett underperformed, and a lot of what they do ultimately rides on RJ Barrett.
Yep.
Quentin Grimes.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say Quentin Grimes is a guy that I'm really looking at this year to be a breakout player. I think Quentin Grimes can have a breakout season, kind of in a 6-man type role. Dante DiVincenzo had a bad season with Golden State last year. He was not a good fit on that team. Maybe getting back to more of a gritty, slower style pace with Tom Thibodeau. Maybe that's the way that he plays because he was good on Milwaukee. DiVincenzo was good on Milwaukee. So I think New York plays a similar style of basketball. So I think Dante DiVincenzo will be better than he was last season. Starting lineup, I've got Jalen Brunson. I've got RJ Barrett still here in the starting lineup. I know some people have talked about Quentin Grimes or DiVincenzo potentially starting. But I've still got RJ Barrett. I've got Josh Hart. I've got Julius Randle. And I've got Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
This is a deep team. This is a good team. I've got them at 6, though. I've got them at 6. I don't think that they'll be just otherworldly good. I think that they'll just be a very, very decent, good team.
Yeah.
I think that projected win total is 45.5. I've got them at 45 and 37, so I think they'll be right there at it, maybe just a half a game below.
Okay. I'll get to them a bit more when I'm there.
Okay.
I will say, following Julius Randle's last few years could not be a good year for him. Following his last few years.
See, I can't say that at this point because every time I try to talk bad about Julius Randle, he proves me wrong.
I mean, it went from All NBA to pretty bad to back to not pretty bad, but less than the year before, then back to All NBA. So
yeah.
My number 6. This is where I have the Miami Heat.
Okay.
You went over a lot of it. Like you said, they lost some pretty big pieces in Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, brought in Josh Richardson. Like you said, you had him at 8. Or,
I have Miami Heat at 8, yeah.
I don't think it'll happen, but I did have them. I had them as a 5 seed last year. But obviously we see they don't care about the regular season. In the playoffs.
Expect them to play 13 games.
Yeah, so when they get to the playoffs, we know what they can do. We saw that last year. We've seen it almost every year. But they were the 1 seed.
They were the 1 seed in 20.
It was the year before last.
21, 22, yeah. They were the 1 seed.
They always find guys that can contribute. They still have Haywood Highsmith, which he could have a pretty good year. I know he went through a lot of it. We'll see if Duncan Robinson. He got a spot back in the playoffs. We'll see if he keeps that through this year. I know we've been critical about that contract for a while, but yeah, like you said, they could be as high as I'm at 6. They could be high as 5, 4 or 5, and as low as 8, 9. They don't care about the regular season enough.
Yeah.
Which now though, we saw they put the 1 seed out last year. They
like playoff time. It doesn't matter.
They want to rest guys. They'll rest guys because if they're like, hey, if we get in the play in and win the games, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think what projection was 48.5.
Yes.
I had the under. I had about 45 to 47.
Okay.
If they take it somewhat serious, some of it, but we'll see.
I'll give my number 5 first. I'll give my number 5 first because you already talked about them. This is where I have Atlanta. I have Atlanta at my number 5 seed, which is high. It even seems high to me. It does. Because do I think Atlanta is a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference? No, I don't. Obviously, I think Miami is a better team than Atlanta. I think New York is a better team than Atlanta. But I think they'll have a good regular season. I do. Quinn Snyder's teams have a good regular season track record. I'll say that.
They do.
His Jazz teams have a very good regular season track record for some teams that do not do well in the playoffs. So I think that was a lot of what played into my reasoning. I think that they are a little deeper than they were last season. I like AJ Griffin to start over Saddiq Bey. I think AJ Griffin had a really good back half of the season last year. He really kind of came into his own. DeAndre Hunter was disappointing for me last year. I thought DeAndre Hunter could be a most improved player candidate last year, but he was pretty disappointing. So I'm hoping that he can bounce back. Like you said, with the whole Clint Capella, Okongwu thing, obviously Okongwu has been really good in his minutes, and Clint Capella is a guy who could be moved. But I really like Trae Young Capella. I think they have one of the most efficient pick and rolls on the floor together in the NBA. So I think that's undeniable. And I think Clint Capella is a good defensive anchor center for them. Obviously, Okongwu could be as well. But I think Clint Capella provides a little more paint defense rather than rim protection, what Onyeka Okongwu provides more of.
Onyeka can stretch a little bit more, I think.
He can. Clint doesn't stretch at all. He doesn't.
No,
yeah. I like the Hawks, though. I like the Hawks going into this year. And I think they'll be more fun to watch. I think another year with Trae and DeJounte in the backcourt, I think that they'll have better chemistry as a team. Like you said, they brought back basically their whole core from last year. They add Kobe Buffkin, a guy who could crack the rotation as a backup point guard. Projected win total 41.5. Obviously, I have them higher. I've got the Hawks at 46 and 36. I think the Hawks will be a solid regular season team.
Yeah.
I don't have much more to say about them outside of that, but I think they'll be a solid regular season team.
Yeah, I think it really depends on Quinn Snyder, how he kind of what he does, but
I trust Quinn Snyder. He's a coach.
My number 5. This is about the New York Knicks. You covered a lot of it. Jalen Brunson has one of the best contracts we've seen. We saw it last year. I know a lot of people are critical of it. Um, like you said, didn't really change much. This might be the Quentin Grimes. He might step up. I think Emmanuel Quickly will probably still be the go-to guy off the bench.
I would think so.
Which he was in six man. I think he was second six man of the year last year. Which he could win it this year. He'll be in the conversation. Like I said, not much. It really just depends on. You said it depends on RJ.
I think so. I think a lot of what they do depends on RJ. Their ceiling anyway.
Yeah, I have to agree because he will be on some of the defensive matchups. Him and Hart. Yeah, I have to agree. It's gonna come down to RJ and Randall some too. But yeah, like you said, they're a deep team. We'll see. They could be as high as.
I think they could be as high as 3, honestly.
Yeah, I can see it. Like I said, the East is top heavy, and it's not as like the West where anybody can be anywhere. But yeah, I can see them that high.
Top four.
This is where it gets fun.
Yeah, it gets really fun right here. I'm interested.
We have the same 4. I don't know about the same order.
Yeah, we have the same top 4, the same top 4 teams, but the order is very interesting.
We might have the same.
I want you to go first at number 4.
This is where I have the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I'm glad you went first.
Yeah, I figured. I was a lot higher before the Celtics and Bucks had their trades. Like I thought about putting them as the 1 seed, just as a regular season team, because they're built for the regular season. I feel like brought in Max Strus, George Niang, lost Jetty Osman, Lamar Stevens. I know there is a lot of stuff going on around Donovan Mitchell if he'll extend or people saying that he should be traded, but they're not going to trade him.
They won't.
They're not going to trade. They're going to try to get him to resign, and if he doesn't,
so
yeah. I got their starting lineup is Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen.
I have the same.
Okay. I liked their offseason getting George Niang and Max Strus. They went out and got what they needed. They were one of the not few teams, but one of the bigger teams that actually went and got what they needed. They needed spacing and shooting, especially if they're going to have Mobley and Jarrett Allen on the floor together, which they do a lot of. Max Strus, we know, shot really well for Miami, or in the playoffs, shot really well. You'll have Caris LeVert off the bench, George, Isaac Okoro, Ricky Rubio. I don't think is playing right now. I think he's got personal time, mental health. They said it during FIBA.
Good for him.
I was night shift. I watched too much FIBA. That's about it. Dean Wade. I know he's some wing depth, but
he started at the end of last season.
Yeah, it's going to come down to Evan Mobley's jump, and I guess how they stagger DG and Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, I've said that they might move off of Jarrett Allen. I know you don't think so. I think they could eventually.
I think it's a possibility. I just said I wouldn't do it.
I like the fit. I like the fit with them because they do have. They were top 3 in defense last year, and with Mobley and Allen, Mobley, he was in Defensive Player of the Year. I think he was 3rd.
They were the best defensive team last year. They were number 1.
Yeah, especially those two. Allen can hold the paint. Mobley can versatile. He can kind of switch on different guys. I had him at 4 last year. Like I said, they could be even with the Boston Milwaukee trades. They could be 1 seed. I think it just depends on how Boston and Milwaukee will, treat the season. But I guess we'll just have to see. They folded in the playoffs. Even Jared Allen said, the lights were too bright. But regular season wise, I think they'll be a really fun team and a really hard team to go against in the regular season.
I agree with you. So they're not my number 4. I don't have Cleveland at number 4. I won't talk much about this team because obviously you have a lot more to say about this team than I have at number 4. But this is where I've got the Philadelphia 76ers. My quick little spiel about them is there's uncertainty with James Harden. Obviously, they've got a good roster. They bring in a new coach, Nick Nurse, which I think could take some time to get used to. So they're going to sit at number 4 for me. They brought in Patrick Beverley, Dwayne Dedmon, and Kelly Oubre, and Mo Bamba as well. We'll see how many of those guys stay in the rotation. Obviously, you probably have more intel on that than I do. As long as James Harden's here, I think that they'll have the same starting lineup as they did last year.
Yeah.
Projected win total is 48.5. I went 1 game under for the Sixers. I had them at 47-35.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they're my number 3. I guess I can get into them.
Do it.
The year Ben Simmons set out, they were on pace for 51 wins, maybe 53 without James Harden.
Okay.
So I could be here for a while, but I'm trying to condense it down. This is where I have the whiteboard take.
Okay.
I know I talked to you about it. Jaden Springer, who's been like a developmental project the last few years. I think he'll be in the rotation this year, which a lot of people don't know him, but some hoopheads do. Had a nasty block on Tatum the other night.
Yesterday?
Yeah. Preseason. But I don't know if you watched any clips or anything. The James Harden situation, I went back and forth on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's been traded.
You don't think so?
No.
So how does it play out then?
I think he just stays.
And all sides are happy?
He won't be happy, but I think he stays. So he's in the last year of his deal. We know what he can do, when he's not happy.
Yeah.
There's a rule in the CBA where if he, sits out more than 30 days that he can't, go to any different team in free agency, that we control what he does. Nice little rule, I guess, for us. They've already paid him a lot of his money for this year's contract. Close to 50% of it, so I guess he's happy about that. But he's skinny right now. Could change opening night in a few weeks, but he's skinny right now. He don't have the fat suit on.
He is skinny. That's the silver lining of all of this.
He didn't cause anything at camp like in the Houston tenure at the end of the.
He didn't make it difficult like they said he would.
He didn't. He'd missed media day and the first day of camp, but he picked the wrong GM to do it to.
See, I thought they were friends.
Yeah, until, it's weird. It's the Harden stuff. He's had signs up all summer about him being a liar at parties and everything. It's so weird.
That was the craziest thing.
Said it in front of the kids, but
that's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So, never a dull offseason with Philadelphia. I will say the biggest thing, like you said, they brought in Pat Bev, Mo Bamba. Danny Green got brought back. Brought in Kelly Oubre, who inefficient, but he did average 20 points per game last year for Charlotte. We finally got a wing on the roster. So the X factor is Nick Nurse.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Nick Nurse. Like you said, it's preseason, but in the last 3 years watching Philadelphia with Doc Rivers, I didn't see defense like that last year. Like yesterday, I haven't seen defense like that in 3 years. Maybe even offense. And, I'm big on coaches matter. The ball moved. Maxey had pick and rolls. He was dishing off out of the pick and roll. The ball swung a lot.
This is a preseason game.
Preseason game. Against Boston starters without James and Joel.
Ooh.
But they actually moved the ball in transition. PJ ran transition. He might have hurt an ankle or something, but he ran transition. He ran the ball down court.
He is 38 years old. He does not need to be doing that.
Nick Nurse wants Joel to be more intense on defense. He said be reckless and be risky and reckless, I think. Go for the blocks. And I said it last year, this is the year Tyrese could be an all-star. He'll be an all-star. That was just last year, this year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't say that second year. Him coming into the second year. That was a Ben year.
Right.
He'll be at an all-star level. He could make the all-star team. Nick Nurse has said he wants him to shoot the ball more. Last year the offense ran through Joel and James, and everybody else kind of fit in where you just fit in. But he said that he's going to get Tobias more involved on offense. Maxey, he said he wants him shooting, I think, around 9 threes a game.
Wow.
9, 10 threes, which he can do it.
Simon's territory.
But he is one of the better shooters. He's been top 5 in percentage the last 2 years. I think he'll have guys bought in on defense. Like you said, James Harden, that's the next biggest, or that's the biggest thing. But I think he stays.
Okay.
Moore is going to be not going to trade him for nothing. We know that. He's going to want to star back. This is where I think Zach LaVine could go. Could be a 3-team, but I don't see Chicago doing it right now.
Right.
But James Harden wants a big contract. He's going to have to play for it to earn it. If he sits out, does the things he does, he won't get a big contract. But if he contributes and Philly's a top 3 seed, I'm not going to mention the playoffs, but regular season, if he get him the top 3 seed and lead the league in assists or close to it, he can get his money, but he'll have to show that he can still do it.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing. You said the over-under was 48.5. I had him higher. I had him at 53 wins.
53?
Yeah.
Wow.
I had 53
for your 3 seed.
Yeah. Like I said, the wins are weird. If Joel's playing, I know he said it, if Joel's playing, they're going to be a good team. Even if James Harden sits out, Joel plays, they're going to be, I'd say a top 5 seed at least, top 4 or 5 at least. But I think they have a good chance at the 3.
Okay. 53 wins is a lot of wins. Wow.
They had 54 last year. I think 54. Same team brought in. You could say they got better, a little bit worse, a little bit better. I know Pat Bell will be the backup point guard, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Philly's going to be an interesting team to watch. You touched on everything.
I will say, I'll get to it when I get to Boston and Milwaukee, but these 4 teams, I think any of them could get the 1 seed.
Yeah. I think even the Knicks could be the 1 seed.
It really depends on what Milwaukee and Boston will do. I don't want to say load management because, can't do that no more. But
So that's why, let me segue into this. That's why it was tempting to put my number 3 team higher. I have Cleveland at number 3, obviously.
I really thought about it.
Yeah. But I've got Cleveland at number 3. You touched on everything with Cleveland, too. They bring in Max Strus, George Niang, really address the wing depth issue, which has been the biggest thing for them. They're going to be a top 3 defensive team as long as they've got those 2 guys in the paint. Yeah. They have some playoff experience under their belt now, so that's, always a good thing. They took a swing in the draft on Emoni Bates. Maybe he plays at some point this year. We are yet to see that.
Yeah. Forgot they drafted him.
Yeah, obviously starting lineup: Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Projected win total 50.5. I think they're right there at 49 and 33. So I've got them a game below. But I think the Cavs will be a very good regular season team. And depending on their first round draw, I think that they are much more suited to potentially have a playoff run than they were last season.
I said that coming into last year, but like we said, playoffs are about matchups.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the Knicks were just a bad matchup for them.
I think the Knicks were a really bad matchup for Cleveland.
Okay. But yeah, like I said, they're the 1 seed, not surprised. I hope they make a playoff run, but I know we're pretty confident in the top for the East, but if something happens, it could very well change.
Top 2, Milwaukee or Boston? Who's it gonna be at number 2, Jacob? Who's it gonna be?
I got Milwaukee at my 2.
I have Milwaukee at 2 also. I've got the Milwaukee Bucks at number 2. Let me touch on the Bucks first. They add Damian Lillard, and as someone who's watched Damian Lillard's entire 11-year career up until this point, Milwaukee is going to be a top 5 offensive team off the bat. They're going to be that. With Dame and Giannis on the floor together with Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez and whoever they decide to run at the 2, whether it be Pat Connaughton or Malik Beasley or whoever they decide to run at the 2, they're going to be a really good offensive team. And as long as they have those 2 guys in the paint, they're going to be a top 5 defensive team as well. They are going to be my most interesting watch team this year. I'll watch the Bucks more than anybody outside the Blazers.
We know why.
I know that for a fact. I think it's very possible that Dame and Giannis both average over 30 points this year. I think it's a very. I don't think so. You don't think so? I think they can.
It'd be close, but I don't think they both do it. It'd be close though.
I think they both can.
Do you want them to take on that load though? Well, Giannis, yeah, but do you want Dame taking on that load of trying to get 30 points a game? I know he's done it in the past, but do you want him to do it though?
See, last year it was so efficient. And I mean, obviously he was playing on Portland. But the thing about Portland is him taking on the load was on the defensive end because Portland didn't have anybody who could play defense. He's got Giannis and Brook Lopez now on the interior. So you talk about him taking on a load. It's not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah, there's
much more. It opens up so much more for him in his game. I don't think his scoring drops. I don't.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think they'll both be at 30. If they are, I mean, I'm not surprised. But because Dame will get targeted on defense, especially.
That's always happened, but he's not a bad on-ball defender.
He's not
a bad on-ball defender.
But with the East teams, they do have a lot of guards. Some teams have 2 guards that could target him a little bit. But like I say, he's not that bad of a defender as people say. Like I said, it really depends if they rest anybody. If everybody stays healthy, Brook, age getting up there, we'll see if he stays healthy, which he was last year. We know what they bring. I'll kind of segue it to Milwaukee.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh yeah, I got to say something else too. Go ahead.
Let me ask you one question. Why is Milwaukee number 2 and not number 1? Because do you think
I think Boston's going to try harder? Huh?
Do you think Milwaukee's the best team in the Eastern Conference? Do you think they're the best? Not the number 1 seed. Do you think they're the best?
I do.
Because I think they are too.
I do. I think Boston's going to try harder.
Okay.
Regular season wise. Because, well, I mean, we saw it last year. It's hard to base it off of last year. Milwaukee was the 1 through last year and got put out first round. But with Dame and Giannis, they're confident they can win any game. Seeding doesn't matter. Like it just depends if they rest guys. And they got a new coach coming in. We'll see, how that is. But like I said, I think it came out today or yesterday that Malik Beasley is supposed to take on some of the main guys defensively. So I don't know if he'll or not.
Malik Beasley was bad with the Lakers, but he was really good in Utah.
Yeah. So
and I don't know why he was as bad on the Lakers as he was, but I don't think we should forget how good he was in Utah. He was really good in Utah.
He was. With Boston and Milwaukee, their top 5 and 6 is really good. But, after that is a drop a little bit roster-wise. Which
after that drop-off, who would you say is better? Because, the Bucks have players like Jay Crowder and Pat Connaughton.
Jay Crowder was good last year, though.
He wasn't. No. I'm just naming players who are Bobby Portis would be the 6. The Bucks pick up Campaign to be their backup point guard.
I forgot about Campaign.
As opposed to Boston, who has Peyton Pritchard and
Boston's really top 5, top 6, maybe.
That's why I think Milwaukee's better.
Yeah, like you said,
and it's Dame and Giannis versus Jason and Jalen too.
I don't think full roster wise, like I said, the top it just counts for a lot. But Philly, I don't know about Cleveland yet. A full roster could have better, but it's just that top part.
Yeah. Let me tell you this. I have a 6-game gap, though, between Milwaukee and Boston because I do think that Boston is going to I think Boston's going to put a lot of chips into the regular season, like you said.
Now, with Boston, though, if Kristaps gets hurt, which he's prone to do,
which is very likely, yes, at some point.
They don't have any backup bigs. They'd be starting Al Horford.
I'm about to say 36-year-old Al Horford is out there pulling minutes.
Imagine
Luke Kornet in the playoffs against Giannis.
I bet say it's gonna be Luke Kornet getting regular season minutes, a lot of regular season backup minutes, which
is why it befuddled me that they traded Robert Williams. It befuddled me that they traded Robert Williams.
I hated they trade Marcus Smart. I mean, I'm glad he's out the East, but I hated they traded him. Okay, they lost Marcus Smart, Grant Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, and
Robert Williams.
So their guard depth kind of went out the window. Like you said, Peyton Pritchard's the backup guard.
Who got paid?
He got paid. He got paid. He can be a spark plug off the bench. I don't know how much you're going to allow him, though, to run like a second unit, which, they had Drew come off the bench yesterday, too, which it is preseason, but he came off the bench. It's going to come down to if Kristaps stays healthy. And
they're banking a lot on Kristaps Porzingis in this. They really are.
He had a really good year last year. I know he was great, a rim protector last year, but Boston likes to play drop coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was preseason, but he did get scored on a lot in drop coverage last night.
Historically, the worst defender that Damian Lillard has ever went against in his career, the guy who's defended him the worst, outside of Steven Adams. Steven Adams always plays drop coverage. And the other guy who always plays drop coverage against Damian Lillard is Kristaps Porzingis. In the bubble, when Damian Lillard scored 61 points against the Dallas Mavericks, Kristaps Porzingis was in drop coverage for 3.5 quarters, and Dame just tore him apart all game.
That's something, like I said, I saw it last night, and Maxey, if you get a quick guard who can attack the rim, it could kind of get him to hesitate. And like I said, drop coverage, a lot of teams do it. Al Horford was in drop coverage. That's why I hate that off Robin Williams. He was great in drop coverage. He was athletic enough to get up and contest in drop coverage and, make up if he got beat.
Yeah.
And it comes down to his health. And if Al Horford regresses in it, because he's up there in age 2. If his shot's not there, we know he can play defense on a lot of players, a lot of bigs, but if his shot falls off.
The shooting isn't my worry with Al Horford. It's, can he take on that much of a defensive load?
He was pretty good last year in the playoffs against Joel, but like you said, it's a year over. I really don't know, especially if he plays a lot of minutes.
Yeah. I think that what gets lost in all of this is a guy who didn't really feel like he had that big of an impact on the Celtics, but Grant Williams had a pretty big impact while he was on the floor.
He took a lot of bigger defensive matchups.
He did. So I think he took a lot off of Al Horford. So that's kind of what worries me as well. And I've seen numbers. I've seen metrics saying that Kristaps Porzingis is a good defender, but it's only in certain circumstances. Like I'm saying, because I'm sure we both expect Milwaukee and Boston, if all plays out like we think it will, to meet in the Eastern Conference Finals, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. If it all plays out like it should, yeah. Which never happens, but yeah.
So it would be Kristaps Porzingis going up against two polar opposite players, and Damian Lillard coming downhill at him, or Giannis coming downhill at him.
If Giannis comes down at him 7 games, I don't know if Kristaps can hold up.
Or he'll get in foul trouble, one of the two.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's bigs in the East. We'll say Giannis, Joel. That might be it. That knows how to get people in foul trouble, especially other bigs in foul trouble.
I think Bam's gotten better about it too.
Yeah, Bam. Bam, his little floater shot in the paint. But if all goes like it should, yes, they should meet the Eastern Conference Finals. But when was the last time it all went like it should?
It never does.
If it went like it should last year, it would have been Milwaukee.
Let's just fast forward to the finals. You seen that thing where it's like Brooklyn and the Lakers 2 years ago?
Yeah, that's people.
The funniest graphic. One of the funniest graphics I've ever seen.
Before the Drew to Boston trade, how it was Milwaukee and Phoenix. But even with, like I said, with both teams, it's going to come down to health. Which Dame, he's got hurt some the last few years. I don't think last year he got hurt. I know they said he did, but I think he came out and said he wasn't hurt.
Yeah, I could have told you that.
Yeah, so I don't have a big gap. between 1 and 2. I know you said you had 6 game. I had them both at 55 wins. Like I said, wins are weird. They're gonna be up there.
I have Boston. I have Milwaukee at 52. I have Milwaukee at 52 and 30. I have Boston at 58 and 24.
I think the days of 60-win teams, which is it's not very often, but I don't think we'll see that anytime soon.
I don't think so either.
Boston. You said 58.
58 for Boston is what I have them at. Last year, my 1 seed was Milwaukee. I had Milwaukee at 59 last year.
They had 58 last year, I think.
Yeah, so I think if there's going to be a team that does it this year, I think it will be Boston. I had Memphis winning 55 in the West, so they're the second place team in wins, I guess. But I'd have Boston winning the most games in the regular season.
Like I could see it. It's just it comes down to health. Because if one of the bigs go down, they don't have. I'm not relying on Luke Cornett. Even in the regular season, I don't want to do it.
No. Another interesting case. You go first.
There's a lot of things you could say. You know, Marcus Smart was the heart and soul, you know, the presence. But I like that they got Drew Holiday to replace him, who became available out of nowhere.
It's kind of like they knew. It's kind of like they knew that was going to happen or something.
Yeah. It's going to come down to health with them, unless because you know if Tatum has a bad night, Brown or Holiday could have good, or KP could have good nights. You know,
they'll be a really good offensive team.
They'll be really great offensively. You know, I know Joe Mazzulla likes the 3-ball. He's going to tell everybody to shoot, which now that whole lineup can shoot, which you didn't get with Rob Williams. Like you said, if everything goes right, they should be the ECF. One of them should come out of the East. I know you called it last year around December that one of them was coming out of the East.
I did say
neither of them did. So it's tough to say.
Take everything with a grain of salt, as always on this channel.
Yeah, it's tough to say.
We are not prophets.
And like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them fell to 3 or 4, just for either load management or injuries.
Me neither.
Because I think
we're playing a matchup.
Because they're confident in what they can do, and matchup wise, even in the playoffs, the top 4, they all cause problems for each other or match up well with each other, I think.
Yeah.
But except maybe Cleveland with the 2 small guards, but it's tough to say. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a lot of movement in the top of the East. I think every game will matter like it has before in the past.
Yeah, man.
Because if it comes down to Boston and Milwaukee at 1 seed, teams might try to lose games so they don't see them either in the second round. It's weird how it goes, but I know year before last, teams try to win certain games and lose certain games to get matched up with in the playoffs. But I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch.
It will. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Another thing I was going to say about Boston being the 1 seed, they always somehow seem to play Philly in the playoffs some way, somehow. So with Philly being my 4, it only made sense for Boston to be my 1 to get that second round matchup. Like we almost.
Yeah, they're 1 game away.
Yeah,
both teams got better. Oh, I will say playoff wise, Drew Holiday drops off in the playoffs. Scoring wise, shooting wise.
Scoring wise, he does.
Defense will be there.
Defensively doesn't.
Yeah, defense will be there. Yeah. Like you said, with that matchup, it comes down if Harden's there or not. So.
Yeah. Eastern Conference is going to be fun to watch, especially come playoff time. We're going to be locked into it. That was interesting. That was interesting though. Awards will be next week. Award predictions. We've kind of hinted at some of those today, specifically like MIP. I know we said a couple times. I've been thinking about like 6-man too. 6-man is something that I have no idea what direction I'm gonna go going into the season.
I got a few guys.
We'll have to see how it plays out. Before we close today, this has been a pretty long episode. Jacob, do you have anything you want to add before we close?
So I got basketball's back, preseason's on, so
preseason's on. So
2 more weeks, I think, for regular season.
Yeah, if y'all are starving for basketball, if y'all are starving for hoops, y'all don't have to wait for it any longer. You can just go on the old, if you have League Pass or Stream Easter, however you do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, basketball is back, man. We'll sign out for now. We'll see y'all next week with awards. Thank y'all for watching as usual, and peace out. See y'all later.